Okay, I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. We do have a set of minutes that we can approve for May the 5th.
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? I know you've had time to look at them.
Yeah.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Mayor, do you want to have any opening comments before we get started?
Only that, our hopes are that we will be able to do the best we can with your needs this year. As we look at growth money, Mr. Maynard will work that out for us along with Stephen Goodall here before long. And tonight, we will just accept your needs. We'll hear your reasons for wanting those. We'll do that tonight with half the departments, tomorrow night with the other half, and then we'll put together kind of a compiled sheet and give that back to the budget committee for them to kind of look at and digest. And then on the 31st, they will sit down, know what the growth money is, and we'll work through that process. That may take us more than one day, but that's the process we're going through. So tonight, there won't be an answer given back to you besides thank you for coming and sharing, and that's really all we need. Okay.
Are we going in any certain order?
There's
Mr.
a
Maynard has.
list in the packet.
Well, there it is. We'll let the attorney go first.
Yeah.
The attorney has another commitment. I do, I got a city council meeting. Y'all want this out in front of you so it looks official?
That'd be fine.
All right, I appreciate you letting me go ahead, by the way. Mine is pretty straightforward. I asked for additional $10,000, not on salary, but on what it takes to run the office. I'm like everybody else, everything we do is up, and certainly fuel, and certainly legal research. But I drive my own vehicle. I provide everything that goes with it. So got a case right now that we may have to set apart. It's here in Wilson County, but we may have to set a hearing on it in Jackson County or Macon County. So I get in one of my 4 vehicles with almost 200,000 miles on and go that way. But that's what I haven't made a request in 3 years, so I think that's right. You can double check me on that, but that's what I'm asking for.
Motion to deny?
Yeah. I heard it. Yep. Yeah. And he's not even a member of the female caucus. He wants to be, doesn't he? He wants to be one of y'all. Yeah. Oh, you don't want to let that go. You can say that now to elections up. But I can't pinpoint mine to anything, any particular, like a lot of these folks have line items for different things. I can't pinpoint it to any one thing. Everything's just up some. So, and it is. Danielle can tell you. There's my proof right there.
Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second to approve attorney's needs list. All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Thank y'all. I'd be glad to answer any questions if you had them.
She's on her way, by the way.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad we got that over with.
Okay, county buildings.
Good evening. Tonight, my needs request for county buildings, this additional $53,000 for maintenance and repair of county buildings. My other contracted services, I'm asking for additional $6,000. Custodial supplies, additional $3,500. Utilities with the new jail expansion, I'll be up and running sometime in November. Additional $200,000 for utilities. An extra maintenance person to help maintain that facility up there. So that's $56,695.21, and then $10,000 for motor vehicle. So that's my needs request for this year. Do you have any questions for me?
You asked for 4 utility wise, right?
Yes.
Write it down.
We'll go for 2. We'll see how we do.
Motion to accept?
Second.
Motion and a second to accept. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Animal control.
All right, gas, I'm asking for an extra $6,000. We have 4 vehicles. And I was shocked my last gas bill. It's awful. A part-time animal control clerk, which would answer the phone, take, impound fees, adoption fees. We're getting very busy, and Paula and I need to be out in the field. They would, you know, do whatever I ask in the office. And then overtime, I'm asking for a total of $10,000 from $7,200. The total of that would be $36,984.
So asking for 1 part-time person and additional overtime.
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
Motion to approve.
have a motion and a second. Any questions from, any additional questions from Mary? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. James E. Ward.
The number one thing that we've got got a real issue with is fuel, and I'm sure all departments are having that issue. And we were requesting 15,000 additional for fuel. Asking for a part-time employee, 28,973.68. LeBron kind of hit me on figuring out that. What the reasoning for that is we got the inmates out there for 5 days a week, but we got so much stuff that we've got on the books now that they won't let them work on Saturdays and Sundays. And it'll be a lot cheaper just to have some part-time people on the weekends to kind of fill in for us, instead of paying, hiring another full-time person that pay benefits and all that kind of stuff. I think it would be a good deal just to do put in for part-time employee. My understanding, we had down 50,000 for gravel and 100,000 for paving. My understanding of that is that's already reoccurring in Fund 189. Is that not correct, Aaron? So we won't have to worry about that because it's already reoccurring. The other thing on maintenance, I've already had to transfer some money to trying to keep up the equipment. All of you's been out there know how much territory we're taking care of, and the equipment, as far as the repairing of the equipment, I'm asking for 5,000 on that, and I think that'll be adequate. If it don't, I'll probably have something in another line item I can transfer, but I really think we need 5,000 there. The sound system out there, actually in all the buildings, a lot of that sound system is really old, and we're having all kind of issues with it, from the squirrels have eat the wiring up to we're having to go back and take conduit pipe and run the wires through so the squirrels don't chew the wiring up on the sound system. So I've asked for 15,000 for that, and I'm asking 30,000 for a vehicle. I think we ended up last year had 15,000 there for vehicle, but that won't purchase a vehicle. So that's what we were requesting from the Ag Center.
What type of vehicle? It's a truck?
Yep.
Yeah, it was the last piece of property that we bought. Is it how much more than 300 acres do we have now?
It's about 325 total. I think when y'all, it'll come back to y'all here before too long. Once the state funding comes in from Tennessee State Fair, there's another tract of property that it joins us there on Peyton Road that Wilson Promotions has got under contract. It's been under contract now, and the contract's fixing to run out. So, and it's very reasonable. It's about $300,000, I think. That was in our plan when we turned in to the state fair. Anybody else got any questions?
On the 30 grand, is that recurring? Are you gonna do that every year?
No, that's just on these assessment. Our status quo budget's already been. That ain't.
I know that, but I'm saying the maintenance equipment.
Yeah, the maintenance. I'm asking if it be reoccurring.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just asking.
Yeah.
We'll slide that in over.
Yeah, the 30,000, Quentin, that's one time, right?
Yes.
Is that recurring? Yeah. We'll get that fixed.
I put it in the wrong line. I apologize.
So there's no.
Motion to accept.
That's my question.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to accept Ag Center needs list. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir. Expo Center.
Afternoon, folks. I'd put in on needs assessment for an additional hourly setup person. What we're seeing is a large increase in events, and we're having some difficulty getting rooms turned over for the next day. Events are coming in earlier and staying later. So right now we're working with myself and 3 others on setup, and we're just not able to stretch into the late hours and cover the events as they happen. The next item is utilities. We're already saying that I'm going to have to transfer some money between line items coming up at the next ag management meeting. We're booking more events. We're running more water. We're running more sewer and electrical. There's just more demand. And the other item on here is advertising from our marketing director. Do you have any insight into, because she was making some changes?
Kind of that I was targeted media, more or less. She wanted to.
It's 50,000 on the advertising additional. And I'm sorry, I didn't know if y'all had the numbers on the hourly setup person. The number that I got from finance current with benefits is $47,256 a year. Utilities 32.5, and advertising was 50,000. And the notes that I have on the advertising is to provide a targeted media buy with streamline media buying process, expand and diversify marketing reach, increase event awareness and participation, strengthen brand awareness, local and regional awareness, and media buy savings for event planners while decreasing expo costs via volume.
I think when she presented this to us out there that we talked about a one-time thing and trying it and see if it would work and not be reoccurring. We've got it listed as reoccurring right now. So.
I think it was intended for one time, but I cannot verify that time.
That's what way we talked about it.
Okay.
If we chose to do so.
Yes, sir, got it.
Yes, sir.
On the advertising, I talked to Gail. They're building a new expo center. I think it's in Murfreesboro, and it's not done yet. What she was trying to do to get ahead of it is really flood it for the advertising for ours and try to keep our business before they start.
That was my understanding.
Any other questions?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to accept the needs list. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, planning. Where's that?
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First of all, all of my employees are appreciative of y'all's consideration of the pay plan and any payroll adjustments that you guys can provide. I do have a fairly significant needs list this year. One of them is under other charges general for $1,000. This request is to accommodate increased price of ESRI GIS software licenses that we use. Also to accommodate the additional employee that we've recently hired. Under the second item would be for consultants, and this is likely going to be a recurring need based on the level of studies that we've been asked to do with regard to updating our land use plan, updating the county growth plan, various stormwater watershed studies, and various traffic shed studies. But more immediately, I need approximately $175,000 at least as a one-time cost to complete the land use plan update that we're in the middle of. We did go ahead and start that process with our current consulting line item of approximately $26,000. We're under contract to pay them $40,000. I believe with a $175,000 additional injection into that line item, which would bring the total line item to $200,000, I should be able to both cover the remainder of the portion of the land use plan that they've started, as well as finishing out the land use plan to the end in terms of having our consultant assist us. But that's probably my biggest needs assessment. And beyond what you're doing with the pay plan and or pay adjustments is probably the most important thing to me on the planning side, at least. Under planning, we also are foreseeing an increase in printing stationery and forms just based on the level of submittals we're receiving, the amount of processing of paperwork that has to be done with regard to each plan for review, whether it be a subdivision plat or a site plan or a rezoning request or a land use plan amendment. Office supplies, we're needing an increase of about $500. And again, just payroll in terms of us just appreciating everything you do in terms of considering the employees. And that's all I have for planning.
Well, I was gonna ask, could we maybe, the $175,000 for the consultants,
Mm-hmm.
could we move it over to non-reoccurring for the time?
And have me come back and request it if I need it
Yeah.
in the future?
Or, maybe next year we could put it in as reoccurring, but with the pay plan and everything we're dealing with.
Yes, sir. As long as I can get that additional money to assist with completing the land use plan on the timeline that we've somewhat laid out, I'd like to get that.
Can we move that over, Aaron, like that?
Mr. Chairman, may I address that?
You didn't hear me.
Eric, Wendell, may I address that? Diane and I met with the Corps, and we're having a workshop week tonight, and they will do $100,000 worth of hydrology study to tell us where we're going to be flooding in the future if we don't keep building like we're building. And after that, it's kind of getting into a match, and that's what I hope Tom's kind of talking about.
It is.
We're going to have to do some match money with them, 50-50 at that point in time, but we won't know till we have our workshop a week from today. But I encourage you to approve this.
Yes, sir. And just to add on to what Jerry was saying, in previous requests that we've had with the Corps of Engineers, for instance, the Corps asked us if we wish to join in on the Bartons Creek watershed study that was done some years ago with the city of Lebanon. And I can't remember, it was north of $30,000 they were looking for a match. It may have been north of $80,000. I get some of those mixed up that we chose not to, as a county, participate in. But the city of Lebanon did go ahead and do that, and they had a Barton Creek watershed study, and they had to match it, so.
Tom, what is obligated I gotta have?
Well, right now, in terms of the first phase, whereby they assisted us with the initial public input meetings, compilation of the public comments, and then helping us with a couple of potential growth scenarios, both status quo and what we might be able to do if we do something different. That was $38,000, as I recall.
You paid how much of that?
And I paid 26 of it.
So I gotta get you,
Or I will have paid 26 of it by the end of the budget year.
I gotta get you 12,000 for sure.
Well, I've got 25,000 in there now, so I was just gonna take it out of next year's 25,000 to complete that payment. But to get the additional 170 gets me to the full amount that they quoted me, which was approximately 210,000 to do from start to finish, the help to assist with the land use plan.
With the land use plan.
Yes,
So I need it all for the land use plan.
yes.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what I was
And it will be completed in the coming budget year.
That's my hope. We're hoping we're the timeline that we've initially laid out has it occurring in late fall to winter of 2022, 2023.
Any other questions for Tom?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
You want me to proceed with building inspection and codes?
Codes, yeah.
Okay. Building inspection and codes, again, we've experienced significant increase in activity of inspections, adequate facilities tax payments and everything else. I did provide that on the attachment in the ClearGov software. I won't belabor that point today in the interest of time. In short, our needs request are a communications increase of $1,000 to account for increased use of Verizon services, necessarily to hopefully in the next budget year install online inspection review processes with use of tablets that we bought. An increase in line item 336, maintenance and repair of office equipment, to add $1,800 to fund software licensure costs for GIS software in the Codes and Zoning Division. An increase of $500 for additional printing cost, and an additional $1,000 for equipment lease for a new copier lease in the Building Inspection and Codes and Zoning Department. We do have as many others have already mentioned, we have asked for an additional increase of $2,000 in our fuel line item. And the last thing, besides a couple of new positions and the payroll adjustments that I talked about with planning, is we would like to undertake at some point a scanning of permit-related documents by decade with organization into a digital database, so that we can get rid of some of the boxes that are in the hallway and in some of the rooms over in the Codes and Zoning Division that the young ladies routinely have to go back when somebody asks about a particular permit from the 90s or whatever, and they'll have to lift down 4 or 5 piles of boxes to get to the one that they need that's got the right year's data in it. We would like to eventually get somebody to scan all of that and put it into an organized database that we can search and possibly take all that to the archives. We'll keep it, but if something is in there that we don't scan, but our initial thought was to get everything that's 8.5 by 11 in those folders and get it scanned and classified by address or whatnot.
Which line is that?
That's
That's a consultant.
that's 308,
Which we could,
$75,000.
sounds like we can move that to non-recurring. Once you scan it and have all that done, it's done, right?
Well, I mean, I'm estimating, and that's purely an estimate. I haven't even went out to quote on that yet, but I'm assuming it'll cost about $75,000 per decade. So we can get the 90s done, then we might want to do the 80s or the 70s, or we might do it the other way. I'm not sure. I got to talk to Karen and others.
At least what we've looked at in our office is that once they do it for you,
Mm-hmm.
you can keep it up yourself.
That's right. But
So the 75 would be one time.
okay, if that's enough, yeah, to do it all.
Yeah, what I heard him say was basically 75,000 was getting through the decade of the 90s.
That's my guess.
And
Yeah.
then we still have to do other decades
Yeah.
not, so it wouldn't be
Yeah, and I don't know, guys. That's my best guess at a cost. It could do all of them. I don't know, but
But we could say.
it'd be a good start.
Decide however far it goes,
Yeah.
One time we come back and visit it again next year.
We're moving that to one time then.
Yeah. The other items are fire marshal. We talked about that last year. Y'all had discussed putting it in WEMA's budget, which is fine with me if that's what you wish to do. However, it didn't get funded last year. And additional permitting and zoning liaison, which is counter staff over there, with an estimated cost of $40,000. You'll see those positions echoed in my 5-year capital outlay plan. Certainly those are important, but I would not say they are priorities by comparison to the other big ticket items you guys are dealing with. So
But the accountant is something that you, the
the what?
accountant, bookkeeper.
I didn't see bookkeeping.
That's
Where
the
you-
40,000.
Oh, no, that's the planning and permitting and zoning liaison, yes.
Is that a
Eventually,
new
yes.
position?
Yes. But
Director Cooper. Is that, sorry, Director Cooper. So is the fire marshal in yours?
No, a fire inspector.
You said that's the same thing?
Yeah, fire marshal has more authority.
Gotcha.
yes, sir. And it really doesn't matter to me and Mr. Cooper has been very cooperative with our department in terms of trying to work with us through right now. In fact, WEMA has gotten involved in our planning process to some extent. I would like to see that more formalized, and some of that's going to take some additional adoption of regulations such as the International Fire Code or the National Fire Code, and as well as commercial codes. But
So I guess my question was, Director Cooper, is that, I knew there was an extra one in there on the fire prevention side, but that's an inspector, and it's not related to this one, so we would leave this one on planning, and yours would be different. That's what I just want to make sure I was right.
And effectively, from my perspective, what it's relating to would be with the addition of additional commercial development we've got in the county. Particularly some of these large warehouses we're getting down in the Castro Pike corridor, Super Speedway. They're not being inspected at present for commercial codes or for fire protection. Let me preface that. They do have an emergency planner, Captain Cowan, that is undertaking some review through our planning process, and he is trying to get some fire code related things addressed into the buildings that are being built out there. But at present, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants because we've not got the fire code adopted and to back him up. So.
Last question, does this pay for itself?
It could through an additional inspection and review process. I don't know if it would pay for itself, but it would certainly bring in revenue if WEMA, let's say it was in WEMA, if WEMA developed a fee process for their review.
But what about yours?
For the commercial review, we could adopt a commercial review process if we adopted commercial building codes.
We're kind of getting the cart before the horse, really. We need a code before we need a marshal, don't we?
Well, it doesn't do us any good to have a code if we don't have a way to enforce it.
Well, I understand.
Yeah.
How long would it take you to get a code?
Well, I mean, the international building code includes a commercial suite of codes that we can adopt pretty quickly, with some consultation with my chief building official and others. And the fire code, probably 2 months. You may want to discuss it in committee. Yeah.
It's not a whole set of rules that we need to spend some time on, is what I'm asking. I didn't know.
Well, they're kind of pre-baked, that everybody, when they adopt commercial codes, that's pretty much what they do. Now, certain communities may, for instance, we withdrew the sprinkler requirement in the residential building code. So there may be some things like that, again, in consultation with my chief building official and possibly whomever you might hire at WEMA for a fire marshal or fire inspector, what they want to see and not see that they have to enforce in terms of the fire code.
What is the difference between those two positions primarily?
Well, the fire marshal can actually
That's another aspect of fire marshal.
Yeah,
They do
right,
fire
tickets,
investigations,
they can do it all.
arson investigations, that kind
An
of stuff.
inspector just basically goes out and inspects the buildings prior, like he said, they would inspect the plans when they come in. They would check all the fire sprinkler stuff, make sure there's enough hydrants around.
Alarm
the
system.
buildings, enough water, things like that.
Salary between the two, what would be the difference?
Your fire marshal pretty much has, they're pretty much over a fire chief, technically, in what they can do. Because fire chief here can't arrest, they can't do anything like that, write tickets, but the fire marshal can. Probably 20,000, probably. Because we got all of our information from Lebanon, because they do it, and for them, it is a money-making, function. They buy their vehicles, they add people every year. They have like 4 or 5 inspectors now. And it's all come from those reoccurring funds that started.
Can you contract for one of these people? Instead of actually hiring one?
You probably can, I have not looked into that.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Real quick,
A tool
if
bill.
you contract it, you'll probably spend more money contracting as a private contractor.
Well, it would depend on how much work you have for it.
This is true,
You're
but,
not building a warehouse every day.
well, what I'm saying is that if you decide to use somebody in this aspect of private contract, it's like if someone in law enforcement wants to do contracting, anywhere else, you're gonna pay for the services times 2. What would you recommend in my thing, inspector or marshal, if it was on the table?
Well, cause see, one thing about it too, you gotta look at, if the county has a fire marshal, then they are the leading authority even in the cities. So.
So that's a benefit for us, I guess, seeing that we can rely on that.
Fire marshal has that authority.
So if we have any like wedding venues or anything that comes in, they're the head honcho to give the okay of whatever
Yeah, the
happens.
cities would actually have to report to
Gotcha.
the county fire marshal.
Mr. Chairman, if you elect to go with either one of those, there needs to be a fee attached to it, an inspection fee or something. I think and Tom probably could recommend something like that, so it is.
I could work with Jerry, with,
self-paying for
I
it.
can work with, Mr. Cooper over here and work out something, absolutely. The, yes,
Can you work with the city of Lebanon and see what their charges are?
absolutely, I can call and find out.
That would be a good start, and then, we're a bigger county than the city, so, we can kind of tag on to that, I would think.
My understanding is that Chief Odds and Captain Cowan are already performing a lot of these duties on top of everything else they do. So I think we're already doing a lot of these inspections already, but we're not charging for them because we can't, because we don't have an official person. But a lot of these businesses actually need them for insurance purposes. So they have to have the inspection done. So we're doing the work right now.
We're just not getting paid for it.
We're just not getting paid for it.
And we haven't adopted the code yet, which really kind of puts them out on a limb.
So it's kind of a vicious circle at this point.
And
They
The only
probably
thing
should
they
be
can do
addressed.
right now is recommend,
Yeah.
just because we don't have those adopted codes. So look at the plans, recommend, actions for them to take. 95%.
Work calls, yeah,
what's
work calls.
recommended. And, the other 10% try to get away with it.
To date, we've tried to implement them into our plans review process and site plan process on the commercial side for like these warehouses, like we talked about. Someone brought up the wedding venues. That's an area where they have really not waded in hard yet, but that is an area that I see as a need because these people are having these barn weddings and everything, and that sounds great, and it's a beautiful wedding setting. I get it. But a barn can go up like a matchstick if, the
All right, I want to ask one more time, just for my stupidness.
I didn't mean to confuse anybody.
Far from that.
So why is it important for you to have a fire marshal in the codes process?
that the fire code and the commercial code are really married. That you've got firewall ratings and things like that, and there's also structural ratings associated with those firewalls. And the commercial codes inspector if I understand it correctly, I'm not either, so keep that in mind. But the commercial codes inspector inspects for the structural integrity of the building. The fire marshal or fire inspector would inspect for fire protection. If they say they're building a 4-hour rated wall, he knows what that takes to make it a 4-hour rated wall. It's got concrete.
He goes by and he makes the inspection.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that he can go and inspect everything in the city?
I didn't say that. I wasn't aware of that.
No.
Like if there was an issue in a city or county, the fire marshal would have the ultimate authority without going to the state.
Okay.
Because that's who's doing that function.
Now, if he had a fire marshal in the planning department, would Jeremy Hobbs answer to him?
No. Fire chief would still be the county fire chief.
Gotcha.
And that's, from my perspective, when you all mentioned last year when we discussed this about possibly making a position available in that department, I'm fine with that because we cooperate well together, and I think there's in certain respects it makes sense for the fire marshal to be in the emergency management agency.
But you would need him
I would
used
need him
on the code side.
on the code side, yes.
And we need him on the code side because in reality, our commercial buildings need to be inspected. They're not being inspected today.
Yes.
And that revenue would actually pay for his salary once we got it started.
Yes, sir.
And then this will be a one-time cost.
Gotta put that in the salary back.
But I guess it just comes back into the general fund, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, no, I gotta have a recurring cost.
Yeah.
And last thing, so if his guy's doing this, do you still need your guy? And if so, tell me what he does. And I know we haven't got yours yet, but I just know it's coming. So tell me, and I'm really just being honest because I don't understand.
Well, I mean, what we do right now, that we have basically 3 people doing, is we'll receive plans either from the contractor and all that's worked through Tom, of course. So we'll review the plans, look at the layout of what they're submitting. Then Daniel and Jeremy will go out and inspect it as it's being built to make sure that they're going by everything that was on the plans.
Would this guy take any of those jobs or no? Your job is still not to do that, you've got a separate job, or will he take over some of those jobs?
It's whatever we would work out, I guess. Ultimately, I think we only need one or the other.
That's what I'm going.
I don't think we need 2.
Because
I'm fine either
Yeah.
way.
Fire inspector here and a fire marshal there.
That helps me. And because I don't want to charge my people more money. I don't want to give them another hoop to jump through. But at the same time, I do want to provide safety. And if I'm not doing that for the people that are out there, then, yeah, shame on me. Okay.
And then if Daniel and Jeremy can't, then I've got another one that's actually has the training, that can go out with them. I always try to send 2 out there together, and she goes in for that area.
So if the budget committee decides to do this for Tom would get him, you would use him from time to time, but you wouldn't need the inspector.
All right.
True? Did you hear me?
Yeah, bits and pieces.
No, so if Tom got this person and you used him from time to time, we wouldn't need the inspector?
Or not if he takes on that responsibility.
Okay.
Then no, I wouldn't.
Okay.
So they could do another job.
I'm just kidding.
But it makes sense as we're going through all this, instead of doing what's listed as a fire marshal, but really is a fire inspector, if you did a fire marshal on the WEMA side and then a commercial codes inspector on your side, because they really.
Yes. And we had, my chief building official, and I believe one of my other inspectors, has certain of the commercial codes inspections certifications now. They're just not undertaking that role.
Right. Right. I mean, that's kind of like what's going
Yeah.
on with, you know, Chief Hobbs being chief of fire, but he's also right now kind of being the fire inspector at the moment.
And the only other thing I'll say about that is it makes sense if we adopt commercial codes, we should be adopting the fire codes at the same time, or vice versa. If we adopt fire codes, we ought to be adopting the commercial codes at the same time.
Right.
I guess
my
my-
question is, does it make sense to, if we're gonna do possibly, like, I guess expanding on what the mayor was asking.
Mhm.
If we were doing a fire marshal on the fire side, instead have that fire marshal do the fire inspections for you.
And they would probably go out with my
and
commercial
work
codes
with
inspector.
commercial codes.
Inspector on their inspections.
Right.
That's how it worked in my previous employment at the city of Hendersonville, is the fire marshal or fire inspector, whatever he was, his name was Royce Hamilton at the time, went out with my commercial building inspector and they did their inspections together.
I guess my question is, if we're gonna look for the possibility of one person in the system, one place or the other, what's the advantage of having a fire marshal over and a fire inspector, besides he can arrest somebody?
My understanding is the fire marshal can undertake arson investigations and things like that. I don't know, Chief Cooper, if a fire inspector could do that. Can you tell me? On the code side, there's really not much difference.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, the fire marshal can do a stop work order too, I believe, that the fire inspector cannot do for those 10% that don't want to comply.
They can come in and shut down a meeting that's too big and stuff like that, so, or an assembly.
I've got one more question for Joey. Joey, the commercial buildings being built today, are they being built to fire code because of what we're doing?
Some of them are.
They're at least looking at the sprinkler system and fire suppression systems. They're looking at the automated gate systems, which is a state law now, to make sure that they have click to enter for emergency services. And they're also providing some input. I won't say it's a requirement, but they're providing some input on, what's it called, like a DTC or something, which is the main operating system of the fire suppression system. They're trying to make sure it's separate from the building, some things like that.
That's what the engine's hooked to.
Yeah.
Does the state fire marshal have a set of codes that they have to go by now?
Yes, they do.
For certain things like church assembly, or for any building that's, I think, 5,000 feet or above that's going to have assembly in it, there are certain things that the state fire marshal will intervene on our behalf and say, you got to submit your plans to us. But on some of these warehouses, I don't think that's happening, or is it required by the state fire
Certainly need to
marshal?
make sure buildings are being built to be safe. At the same time, I'm hesitant about this, about it maybe putting an additional hardship on small things that people do in the county and things that would increase their cost when they go to build something or along that line.
Understood.
And
Sue?
Yes.
The only reason I brought it up is it was on my needs assessment list last year and it didn't get acted on, and it's, again, relative to everything else that's transpired, at least for me, it's important, but it's not, you know.
Sue, you have a question?
I think I know the answer to my question, but are all the apartments that are being built all out throughout the county, are they required to have a sprinkler system in them now?
I believe apartments are, but now, let me preface that. We've not had any apartments out in the county jurisdiction to speak of in a long while. We've got some that have been there for a long time, but, and been built in the past 3 or 4 decades, but in the cities, they actually have commercial codes adopted, so they are being reviewed for commercial codes and for probably fire codes as well.
Do you know if the builder or contractor is having to pay a fee to install that and get that approved?
I don't. And that's one of the things Ms. Stafford suggested we do, is get some additional information about what Lebanon is charging for those plans reviews and inspection fees.
Better to use their will and reinvent one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm sure this conversation will need to continue, but at this time, is there a motion to accept?
Motion. Second.
I just want to say an apology to Chief Cooper for involving him in my needs.
Okay, have a motion and a second to accept. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir. Okay, drug court.
Mine isn't near as complicated or as long.
I hope not.
I'm requesting a $6,000 increase in my line 312 for contracts with private agencies. This is a request for more drug screens and lab verifications. Our criminal court judges are requesting weekly drug screens on some of our offenders. And so the increase is causing me to run out of money for drug screens.
Motion to approve.
Yes, ma'am.
Question, will the state provide any help? I mean, will the ARP money or state
The ARP money will go for drug court side, but this is for probation, misdemeanor probation side. Yes, ma'am.
Again, will the state provide any money for that?
Not for that, no ma'am, because it's a county probation office.
Yeah, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, information technology. IT.
I'm asking for $11,300 for our American Disabilities Act compliance for our website. It's one of the many things that Bear Web was charging us for, and I didn't project that when we started taking it over for ourselves. But this is a subscription base. Asking for $40,000 for a new SUV. We have one that we're grateful for, but it's been passed down, and we've laid hands on it. We've prayed for it, but it does not want to be resuscitated if it goes down again. So it is. Yes. Hey, we'll take it. But we're asking $65,000 for network rewiring. We have a lot of locations that are either old or outdated that we need to upgrade. We've actually pushed that back the last couple of years, but we're asking for it now. $5,000 for SD-WAN backup. That's again for if the internet goes down, we can automatically kick it over to the SD-WAN and proceed like nothing's happening while we fix what's wrong. And lastly, so this figure may change based on the pay study for Aaron Wilson to go to 40 hours per week. We've got 2 locations that are 24 hours and normally if something goes wrong, I'll take the call. However, I'm almost an hour away. So if I mean, at that time on to everyone being down or whatever the problem is, if we can just have Aaron on call, he lives here on town, he can knock it out. That's all I've got.
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
7,000 goes to put age from 35 to 40 hours. The 29,800 covers ADA compliance, backup internet, and email security. That, because I heard you talk about 11,000, and I didn't see it on my list.
Oh.
So I was concerned.
That's just the 11,300 is just for the ADA compliance.
Okay.
The SD-WAN.
All 3 of them then add up to be the 29,800.
Yes.
I'm good on that. Okay. Thank you.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any additional questions, comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Judicial commissioners?
Good evening, everyone. The Judicial Commissioner's Office is requesting just a couple needs this year. We are very thankful for the needs that you gave us last year. The first need is on line 320. It's our dues and membership. We're required to complete basically continued legal education training every year, and the membership that we're a part of provides that at no cost to us, but the membership fee for that has increased this year to $100 per person. We did have $750 budgeted in that line last year, but with 13 positions in my office, we need an increase of $550 in that line. The next need that we're requesting is on line 435 for office supplies. We are asking for an increase of $2,500 to that line, and like everyone that's went before me, everything's went up. The paper that we print warrants on has exactly doubled. In addition to that, ink cartridges are a big ticket in my office, and the price of those has went up $17 per ink cartridge. The last need is we're asking for the addition of an overtime line to my budget. My budget has not had an overtime line before, and through the work of HR and the Judicial Committee very recently, my job classification for judicial commissioners has changed from exempt to non-exempt. And the reason for that change was basically to pay people for the hours that they work. When they were exempt, the benefit was if they had to leave early, they wouldn't have to use sick leave or vacation leave. I can tell you that never happens. I'm usually running on a skeleton crew with only one commissioner per shift. So they weren't getting any benefit of that. But on the flip side of that, my commissioners are often held over an hour, 2 hours at a time. I had a commissioner last week that worked 11 extra hours and didn't get paid a penny. So this is correcting that situation. Therefore, we're asking for $15,000 in an overtime line to address that situation this year. And that concludes my needs request.
Motion to accept.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additional questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so very much.
WEMA.
Mm.
He's back.
Yeah, he's back. All right, we're asking for target solutions for any personnel that we get. We're asking for 5. Uniforms also would fall into that. 3,000 for any new personnel. 8,000 for in-service or training for that number of personnel. We're asking for an increase in cost for our rentals in a $2,000 increase in that line. Also in our communication line, the increase in that we've totaled up, and it will be an increase of $12,120. The computer aided dispatch system that we have, the maintenance fee on it will be increased by $31,100. Uniforms through EMA, where currently the crews are given $400 a year for uniforms. They wanted to increase that to $600 per person a year. So that increase would come to $35,400. ESO staffing module, we paid the initial payment on that this year. We're asking for the for the renewal purchase, which is $12,000 a year for it. Drugs and medical supplies. If you remember, we did come back and ask for an additional $30,000 this year for a price increase on those. So we're asking for $35,000 to increase that line. We'll drop down to C. C is for turnout gear for any new personnel, $3,500 each. Payroll, we're asking for 4 administrative personnel. We're extremely light at the top in our department. This was also made mention by the guy that done the study. And he's getting me documentation of that, of every other department that he's inspected or has done a review for. He said, I can't believe y'all are this light at the top. And I said, well, me either. But anyway, I feel that we can't no longer maintain effectively or efficiently without those positions. And I did look back, 2014 was the last time we were given an administrative position, and it was for compliance that Mark Taylor holds today. I have submitted for these positions on several occasions, which keeps getting kicked out for whatever reason. But if we're going to continue to hire personnel at the lower end, I've got to have these positions in order to make it run. And that's about it. In addition, I guess, for Aaron, EMA wanted me to look into getting a quote on 2 ambulances. And I think the quote come back a little higher than what they were allotting on that, so I'm assuming it probably has to go back through EMA at some point. Aaron can talk about that if he needs to anymore.
Yeah, it will come back to EMA. We'll try to get a meeting scheduled. That'll come out of 3118. It'll basically be a matter of what we had looked at was increasing the patient charge revenue. That's where the revenue in 118 comes from. We sent charges over to Fund 118 to cover the cost of new ambulances. We're gonna have to bump that up. The reason being they want to go ahead and order 2 since it's at least a year out before they'll be ready to put on the road. So when the bids came back, we didn't set aside enough money. So we'll have to get another EMA meeting to decide exactly how much money we need to transfer.
Any questions?
I got a
Yes.
question. So I know the last time, and I know that hopefully the pay study will help you retain the people you have and get some new people. I know we added a fire truck to the Watertown area last time, which I think you used a used one for that.
Mhm.
And you have the personnel to 6 people for that.
Correct.
And then we ordered a fire truck for the Central Pike station, which should be done soon. We did not approve the 6 people to run that fire truck, did we?
No, sir.
Where will we get those at? Do they need to be on here?
It will, that engine will probably come in by the end of the year. No, we haven't asked for those. Originally, I did ask for 6 if we were going to do a Lebanon ambulance, but with that being a year to year and a half out, those personnel won't be needed for that particular ambulance at that time. So we will have a need for 6 personnel to run that engine in the Central Pike location once that comes in, and up until that time, basically we can use them as floaters to fill in our empty slots right now that we have to hopefully keep those other stations open until that happens. So yes.
So if the EMA committee approves the 2 ambulances, it'll take a year or so to get those here. So
Right.
don't worry about the personnel for those until 24 budget. But right now, if we got a fire truck that we ordered that's going to be here October, November, December, it doesn't help me to have it if I don't have 6 people. So
Right.
should we not add that to our list, or am I wrong? Am I missing this?
That's true. The 6 people that I had for the Lebanon zone that could be utilized for those for the engine and or slots. I had allocated $405,394. It will apply the same way. 394.
So if looking for just a second, if that were to get approved, those 6,
through the budget committee, it will take you, I know you have to pay them, but how long to train those people to get those up and going? 6 weeks or longer?
Normally it takes, right now it takes about 60 days.
About 2 months.
Yeah.
So if we got them on the books by July, of course, it's gonna take you longer than that, but July and August, and so you could use them September and October until the trucks.
Correct. I could, yes.
The new station should be online October, November, is that, if I understand?
Right, yes.
I'm with you. I'm sorry
So-
for asking, I just didn't know it. I don't know if that has to go back to WEMA committee to be added or not.
So what are we saying? We need, for his request, we need to add another 6 personnel?
Total of 17.
We spent $100,000 for a fire truck, I just hate to have it not have nobody to run it.
No, it'd be total of,
Well, I'm seeing these new positions down here, got 4 new positions and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then if you add those 7 more, is that not 11, 4?
What we have on our,
Five.
what we have on our list, Joey, and ours, whether ours matches yours or not.
Okay.
Hopefully it does, but
All right.
what we have is 4 captains, 4 new positions listed as captains.
okay,
Okay, we have 1 dispatcher.
okay,
And we didn't have anything because at the EMA committee meeting, the 6 people that we were talking about were for either Mount Juliet or Lebanon.
The ambulance,
at EMA,
yes.
And so they axed that. It never made it forward to here.
correct,
Nobody was thinking, I don't think, about the Central Pike.
right.
So total, how many are we talking? Are we talking 7?
11,
11, okay. Because when you just said the new position that the mayor was asking about, I added the 6 more to that. So that's already included in the 11?
I don't see, so 16, 11, the 6 that the mayor were talking about, the 4 captains and the dispatcher, that's 11, that's the 11.
So 6 is included in the 11, no, okay.
yes.
And those 6 cost what? $394?
405, 394.
We'll have to figure out, Joey probably has it, I don't know if that's just the salary figure, if that's with benefits and the whole bit.
That is with benefits.
Is that,
Joey, I hate to be the one to ask the obvious question.
No, go ahead.
We can't keep you staffed now.
Mm-hmm.
You got empty positions. Wouldn't we be better to be talking about, of course, giving you what you need to maintain and fill the positions you have before we talk about hiring more? What, I mean, we took if I understand right, what we done, we gave those 6 positions last year and wound up having to use the money for overtime because we couldn't keep them filled, is that correct?
Correct. And that's,
I'm not against
no, and that,
additional personnel, but
right, and that's because most of them left,
why do we need more positions?
because if we get the pay fixed,
But
then we could receive,
when we obligate that money, we can't do more for the existing employees, in my eyes. When you obligate money for positions that we can't fill.
So I think the problem that we got, of course, across the country, but definitely with us, is that we don't have the pay to obtain the employees. If you pass the 60 percentile, then we're hoping that will staff his group, that will take care of the Watertown truck, that will take care of his shortages on Noreen and Statesville, that'll give him a full platoon. And if that happens with the pay study, then that's great. And then if you turn around and say, okay, here comes that fire truck in October, in a station we just built, I don't have anybody to go run it. I gotta have somebody to go
I
run
mean,
it.
I understand that
Yeah,
part,
so
but
if
we've
I don't-
got to keep the positions we have right now filled.
You got them funded, they are funded.
They
I
are
just need somebody
funded,
to
but
go.
there's nobody working in them. How many are you down? You told us?
26.
26 persons.
That's because you don't have we're not paying them enough to get them. But
So
if you
that's
get
what
your
I'm
pay
getting
there,
at. We need to take funds and pay these people where we can get them up where we can maintain them. And then worry about adding positions in my eyes. Now, I know we've got a fire truck coming. I know we've got a fire station built.
right.
But you've got to maintain the positions and have them filled that we have now.
And I think your statement will be answered when we start on the 31st. because I think what we'll all do is say, let's take care of the pay plan first. Now, do we have any money left for those 6 people? We'll see. Do we have any money left for those 4 or 5 people? We'll see. So, but we'll start out and do what you're trying to do, and that is take care of the people we got on staff right now. That will come off the top. And we may not have enough money for the 6 people, but if we do, then you've got them on here to consider. If we don't, what you're asking for is definitely gonna be handled first, and that is to take care of our employees, and I'm with you 100%.
I understand we've got a station we're paying for, gonna be built, and we've got a
Yeah.
fire truck we paid for, we need some money on. But we
Take care
can't
of
keep
people.
what we've got going now.
Right, yeah.
And I'm 100% with you, because I think everybody else is too. Let's pay the people.
Yeah, yes, I agree with what you and the mayor discussed, yes, that's number one. But these are big-time needs to
I understand.
efficiently do the job.
Quick question here. We had on here talking about the turnout gear.
Yes.
Did we give you money for turnout gear last year or no? Somebody, did we give him money for turnout gear before?
You gave him money for turnout gear.
You did for the,
You supplied him with 6 people last year.
Okay.
And you gave him money for turnout gear for those.
Those people, gotcha.
yes,
So this 14,000 will be enough turnout gear for these 11 people?
no, that was only for 4.
So that number will have to raise too, right?
Yes.
If we decide
Yes.
to do that. So that 22,000 at the bottom was essentially incorrect.
It looks like to me it'll go up to about 35,000 is what will be needed. It's $3,500 a piece, is that right?
Yes.
So it looks like what will be needed to outfit all of those will be 35,000.
So that we need to bump up the bottom line
Yes.
to,
Let's see, hold on just a minute, 35 and 8 is 43,000.
so that 22 is obsolete
Yes, it is.
if we do that.
Hey, Tommy, from the EMA committee, one of the other reasons besides not having the ambulances available, because Joey did actually ask for, I think, did you ask for 6 or 12 originally? I think it may
I'll
have
have to
been
go back
12.
and look. I
I think it
can't
may have
remember.
been 12, but we cut those, and it was because of the ambulances. So back to what the mayor was talking about with the fire truck, the truck's coming online, but it was the same reason that you were just talking about, because they were down 26 people already. We didn't want to turn around and add more ambulances to the system and still not have the personnel and, stress the system even further. So, I do have a question for these 6 people, this 405,394
Mhm.
number. That's at our current pay rates,
Correct, correct. That, yeah, because I don't
So
know
if we
where
do
it's gonna be.
And then we need to make sure that number is increased.
That's correct.
Okay. And then, last question, the 4 captains that you've got in here,
Mm-hmm.
was the intent one of those positions actually to be a fire marshal, or no?
Not a fire marshal. I did have it in here as the inspector just because of the cost. It will be a captain's pay, which is pretty much what a fire inspector gets paid. But that would be one of the functions of one of those people, yes.
Okay.
So what I'd like to suggest, if I could, to this committee, I don't know that we have the authority to add this to the needs list. Somebody above me would have to answer that. Does it have to go back to the committee? But I would like to just say on the inspector and the fire marshal, I'd love to get permission to sit down with Tom and Joey and just talk about that and come back with one person to put on our list. And again, as we talk about this list tonight, we're just putting on, this is the wish list. We may not be able to fund it all, we got that, but let's get everything down that we need to consider, and then we'll go as far as the money allows to go. Aaron, do you know this, because I don't have Mike here? Can we add to the needs list since this was brought up, and then wait for committee approval? Or does it need to have to go back for committee approval pretty quick and get back there before the 31st?
I think you can, sir. I think we've done it before. Whether that is a appropriate protocol or not is a good question. But I think the budget committee has added stuff
I know they have the final authority
Yeah.
for the commission. I just didn't know if,
Yeah.
I mean, but if we need to, I'll find out from Mike tomorrow, if we need to go back to the Women Committee and ask them to consider this and get the right numbers, the solid numbers.
Yes.
And then solid, you know, make it solid between us two. Do we want an inspector or a fire marshal and how that pays for it? We'll try to do that to make it clear.
There's a couple of other
Back to
numbers
your
on there
thing
that
too
might
about the
change
turnout gear.
a little bit. A couple of others might change a little bit. We were looking at, in-service training and then
Yes.
the uniform cost.
Yeah.
Those two numbers might also change with the additional personnel. So-
I kinda think it might need to go back to the women committee first, so we don't have to hear about the drama in the commission of who didn't they didn't approve it, and we don't need to do that, so.
And maybe even break these down to where one person, all of their extras. That way, if you end up picking and choosing, I made the mistake the last time of taking, when I do my little sheet, messing it up. So I'd like to break it down individually if we could on that. That way, if they don't choose all 11 people and only.
Gotcha.
I got everything we need.
Yes, sir.
I got you. Yes, sir.
That's good. It'll give us an opportunity to have the discussion about those ambulances too.
Yes, sir. So we'll try to get a women committee scheduled. That is William Glover. I'll call him tomorrow.
Okay, is there a motion to accept?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to accept. Any additional questions? Joey? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Property assessor?
Evening. Thanks for your time. I don't have my my paper in front of me, but I believe I only had three requests. Thank you. One was a $2,500 fuel to add. It went from $7,500 to $10,000. We ran out this year, but we juggled some money around and made it work. And then the two additional employees, both entry level. I think it was $37,000 plus some change, plus benefits, whatever that is. One is a residential field appraiser that's going to be full time that you guys approved from the part time position a few days ago to be a full time, and the other is a commercial appraiser. Currently, right now, I only have two for the county. I guess it's been that way I don't know when as long as I've been here, but I only have two people that do every commercial building in the county, apartments, warehouses, and as you know, how many commercial buildings we have in Wilson County. It's pretty tough on those guys. Both of them have been here a pretty good while. One's 33 years, one's 27 years, so they can leave at any time. And I kind of need to get somebody helping them out and kind of learning the ropes of, because it's totally separate from our residential. Most people, when I ask them, can you do residential, can you do commercial, and they don't really know. So I really need to start trying to add that, because the work's there. We just got to pick it up. But that was my needs, I believe, is just the two additionals and the fuel charge.
So is the gas an additional $10,000?
No, sir. It went from $7,500 to $10,000, so I'm only asking for $2,500 more.
We have 10,000 on our list. We can change it to 25.
10,000 total is what I was needing.
You need an extra 10,000 total.
No, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
We can change that.
Okay. Yeah, it went from 7,500 to 10,000.
We had 10,000 down here, so that's sir.
Right.
Total.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
How much, if we're going through growth, how much each year additional monies are you generating? Because you're the generating department. How much more money you add to the coffers of the county every year?
I don't have that information from me, but I know, I would be scared to do that.
Well, I think
I mean, the growth rate, if you look at the growth rate every year, it goes up.
Less money we get every year. That would be it.
I mean, whatever that is, it's usually 5%, 6%. This year, maybe 7%, maybe more. I mean, the work's there. We just have to pick it up. And the more people I have, the faster I can pick it up.
So, in other words, these people come close to paying for themselves?
Absolutely.
And I think a better point that Commissioner Carlin's making is that if we have, if he has an extra person out there, these companies that are sliding by until the following year, get caught on this year, and we stay up to date, because you're not up to date on getting everybody on the roll.
No, we're never up to date. It's just a constant workflow, and you just do what you can without, wearing yourself out.
The more you get on the roll, the bigger our growth plan is.
True. Yep. I mean, I could work 24 hours right now. I do. I take stuff home with me, but there is a tipping point. If you said I'll give you 50 more people, that would be a lot more. But yeah, we have plenty of work to do, and especially on the commercial side, we're missing out on a lot by just those two guys, working as much as they can every day. Just that extra person just on the commercial side would be crazy, because commercial buildings, are taxed at 40% as opposed to 25% residential. So just that extra person would be a tremendous amount of money.
So what I remember somebody said was that 225 houses to equal one commercial building for tax purposes.
Okay. Yeah, well, we can.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second to accept. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all for your time.
And libraries,
No.
the library.
Say no.
Thank you. The libraries are asking for just a one-time amount to pay out a retiring employee, my assistant director. She'll be retiring in December, and she'll have the maximum amount of hours, annual time hours to pay out. She's been with us 17 years. And this amount includes the salary and the benefits.
So all of this.
This is non-recurring.
This is non-recurring. It's just one time.
Something you gotta do.
Like that better.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Or to
Thank you.
accept.
Yeah.
You better be careful.
I know, I'm sorry.
Don't hate.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
tomorrow night, the pay study people will be here with another version or the same story but a different singer. They'd ask about going first, but I really think I don't see any real hard ones tomorrow night. We could zip through our needs list first and then give them the rest of the time. They're gonna be here all day tomorrow, and so they thought they got an hour and a half drive, but I really think it'd be beneficial for us to get our people through, and then allow them to have as much time as they need.
I agree.
So wasn't Wendell and I supposed to meet with him tomorrow, or was that another time?
That'll be tomorrow if you haven't already been called.
I was, but I didn't put it in my, I don't remember what time. I didn't put it in my
They were
calendar.
gonna spend as much time as y'all needed, because y'all requested that individually tomorrow in the conference room, so if they haven't called you. Okay, so if you'll call Kiana in the morning, tell her what time will be good for you.
I haven't been called.
You emailed.
So, and you would meet with you individually, or you can meet with the group, whatever you wanna do. If you, I tell you what, Miss Annette, call me first thing in the morning, I'll get you taken care of. And then, so they'll do that tomorrow with the budget committee members, and then tomorrow night with the full commission. And then, let's just say, Miss Joy and Miss Sue, and Mr. Phil said, hey, look, I'd like to have a meeting with them just by ourselves, we'll set that one up too.
I said, I checked my email. I apologize for the short notice. Are you able to, for a meeting tomorrow, May 18th, 3 to 3:30? So, to discuss the play plan.
Call me in the morning, I'll take care of it.
Plan. Gotcha.
Y'all have somebody calling me.
If I don't call you, you call me.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
See if you can get that.
Budget committee people, is there any other business that we want to discuss at this point in time? You have anything? All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Or recess. We're adjourning or
Are we
recess.
recessing or adjourning?
I think you can adjourn, we have it set for tomorrow night too. Advertise for both meetings, we can adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Who's she calling?